with in Mombasa when I'm in Mombasa. There is Vice or who asked me when are you in Mombasa. But I'm always in Mombasa, other than when I'm not in Mombasa. Yeah, so I can see Director Zero here, Chairman of Fanikio, Chairman Tabasamu and the team, and I'm happy to be here. I think last year and this year we have had very many engagement with literally everybody who is here, and we walked a very good journey. I am happy of the success that we achieved. Those of us who are going delegate system, I was part of the journey, and that is the relationship chairman I have developed with members, SACCOs of Ketsa. Happy to be invited to come and look at the strategic plan together with you, and especially this particular time. Chairman, I want to appreciate what you have done here. This is profound. I was looking at everybody who came, and I said, these are the pillars of Ketsa. And at this particular time, it is important to recognize the pillars, because it is those pillars that will help you start. And so it was not in vain that everybody was given an opportunity to be known and to be seen and also to be heard. In fact, one of the pillars that Ketsa stands on is the support from the member institutions, and you have demonstrated it here by the introductions you have done. So I will share with you the strategic plan 2023-2027. You realize now we are in the year 2026, meaning a lot of it has been covered, time is gone, and it will be interesting to see what is it that has been achieved and what is it that can be achieved in the remaining 2 years. Maybe before I get into that discussion proper, allow me to recognize a gentleman who is seated and that cubicle called Philip Kai. Philip Kai is a good friend of mine. We have had many engagement and relationship, and I'm happy that we are meeting again at Ketsa. So shaping the future of the movement, you could say, is the universal mandate that has been given to Ketsa. And the movement is evolving. You have seen a lot of conversation, and there is now a term that we are using, transforming the Sacco sector. And Ketsa need to be at the center of that discussion. So I'll be sharing with us what were the aspirations and what need now to be aligned with what is it that is happening in the sector. I want you to engage with your neighbor and find out whether these two gentlemen are saying the same thing or they are saying different things. One is Peter Drucker. Those of us who are in management recognize Peter Drucker. In fact, we call him the father of modern day management. And he said that strategy is not about predicting the future. It is about creating it. And then one time, the renowned president of America, Abraham Lincoln, said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So just in a very simple way, engage your neighbor and find out whether they are saying different things or they are saying the same thing using different words. One says, predicting the future is about creating it. The other one says, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So are they saying the same thing or are they saying different things? Yeah? More or less the same thing, huh? I want to agree with those who feel that they are saying the same things. That those who get very close how the future will look like, they were part of the creation. And I want to give you a very simple example. I want you to look at the Kenyan Constitution today. Those who actively participated when it was being formulated during the early stages of drafting, they have a way in which their structures were taken care of. And those of the people who are very busy doing their other things, there is a way in which the Constitution, they possibly missed out. But they are not even very sure that the cooperative movement participated very actively in the formulation of the Constitution 2010. Do you know in the entire that document, the cooperative movement has been mentioned how many times? How many times? Only once. And it is in the schedules. So in the entire main document, the cooperative has not been mentioned anywhere. It is mentioned in the schedules. And it is mentioned in the schedules as a word, cooperative movement, in the devolved functions. So do you start to appreciate why sometimes we have this confusion as to whether the cooperative is truly devolved and what is really devolved in the cooperative? It could mean that we did not participate in creating how we want to be structured in that constitution. And for me, that is an invitation that going forward, we should not let things just happen. And then when they happen, is then we are waking up to realize that we were not properly structured. I see that in the bigger picture, the bigger role for Ketsa, to make sure that the interest, now specifically of the Sacco movement, which is also the interest of the cooperative movement, are not lost during the journey. Another gentleman, Michael Porter is one of the renowned strategists. This is what he said, that a company without a strategy is willing to try anything. That's a very strong quote, because you cannot boil the ocean. You have to focus and decide what is it that you want to be doing. One of the renowned CEOs of the main companies, international company, the company called GE, General Electric, was called Jack Welch. He said, for us, one of our strengths is to know what we will not do, and to know that which we are good at. And so what the strategy does, it helps you focus your resources, your energy in the most areas of your competence. So why is it important that we keep on revisiting our strategy? It is to evaluate how we have been performing against the target. And this looks like preaching to the converted, because this is what you do every day in your own institution. Important also is looking at the environment, how it has changed since you planned for it. Like they keep saying is that you cannot game the market, so you keep on responding. And one of the strengths of any organization is being responsive to a changing environment. But how you know that an organization has developed internal mechanism for resilience is adapting in a changing business environment. Changing members' expectations, and particularly regulatory dynamics. And I believe that is the space we are at, isn't it? We are seeing a lot of regulatory dynamics, and you may want to know how to respond to them. Address emerging risks, and I know you have an opportunity here to specifically look at what are some of the things that you are considering to be risks that can threaten the going concern of this institution. And then, of course, we align the strategic priorities to sustain growth, enhance member value, and more particularly, strengthen institution resilience. I am a trainer for adults, so that is why from time to time you see me liking engagement so that I do not lose you. I want you to engage your neighbor and find out how do you test institutional resilience. And for this, I would expect a response. How do you test institutional resilience? How do you test institutional resilience? So make sure that your neighbor gives you a point that you can confidently stand and share with us. Because on this, I will invite a response. How do you test institutional resilience? So start from very basic things. What is resilience? And is it possible to test it so that you know whether your institution is resilient enough or it is wobbling? If you wake up in the morning on a rainy day and you discover that all your bananas are fallen, what would you say was the problem? Or like the chairman, the way you put it, that now Nairobi has become a lakeside. So if you wake up in the morning and you discover that the roads have turned into rivers, what is being tested? So how do you test organization resilience is the question. So who has an answer? Nani amepewa jibu na mwenzake? This is also a good opportunity. If your neighbor is not giving you some of the answers, there's a mtoroka.
So again, one of the other reasons why you review the strategy is to make sure that you remain faithful to what you committed to do. The value of a strategy is not in the content of the document. It is the ability to implement. In fact, we keep saying, what differentiates one organization from the other is not how good their strategy is, it's their discipline to execution. And by reviewing, you keep on reminding yourself what is it that you said you will do. So we have what we call the 4 disciplines of execution. I will not pick the first discussion, but allow me to pick on the second discussion. And in the second discussion, number 1, we say, let's keep on focusing on what were the important things that we say. We call them the widely important goals. What did we commit to do? And we look at whether they were clear, because clarity of goals is another predictor as to whether they will be implemented. Number 2, you ask, what did we commit we will do to realize our goal? And we call them the lead measures or the lead behaviors. That the moment you pick to achieve certain goals, you definitely then have to pick what new behaviors will you adopt. Number 3 is how do you keep an eye on these goals? And we call it the comparing scoreboard, maintaining a dashboard. I visit some of the institutions and I see very nice dashboard because you want to keep an eye on what is it that you are achieving. I don't know how many of us love watching football. I am not a very faithful person to football. I watch it for fun. And I do not have this team that I truly support. I am not faithful to any team. But one thing I like is that I'm able to see which team is winning and which team is losing. Why? Because the dashboard is always before us. They normally say that when a team looks at the dashboard, they change the way they are playing the game. So you need to keep answering, are we playing a winning or a losing game? And then the last point is, how do we make sure that everybody is accountable and we have a way of reporting back? I think, Chairman, the way you are also lining up all the institutions and all the executives of this society is a way speaking to that what we realize, we are all accountable to it. So we call it the cadence of accountability. So if you say this is the target, what is the responsibility of each and every member institution? So I'll not take you through this, but because I have promised the Secretary that we are going back to our timings. I'll make sure that we go back to our program. But just to help us, just a recap as to what is the cycle, how do you go about preparing any strategic plan? And so we start with step number one, is answering this question: where are we now? And this is a constant question. And for you to respond to that question, you do what we call a scan of the environment. That is why I know every time you are going to do your strategic plan, you conduct things we call the SWOT analysis, the prestige analysis, just trying to answer the question, where are we? How are we positioned internally? And what is it that we are confronting that is out there? And this is one of the things that was done in the formulation. And so the society was able to understand what are our internal strengths, or what is the source of our competitive advantage, and what is the source of our competitive disadvantage internally. One of the areas that was identified as a source of competitive advantage is the unity of the member institution. In fact, the biggest asset for Ketsa is not in the balance sheet. It is in the people that were displayed here. That is the biggest asset. And that asset must be managed and maintained. So once you have seen that, you have also looked at your external environment. What is the political space? What is the legal space? What is the competition space? You go to the next step of strategy formulation, where you ask, where do we want to go? And then you embark on the journey of answering how to get there. And all the way to now picking lessons from your experiences. And by this, that being the third year, there are lessons that we have picked. And one of the profound lessons that we have picked is that the business environment keep on changing, and sometimes it can be more turbulent than we thought. And you need to keep on preparing and building resilience, so that even when it changes, you are able to keep moving. So a number of assumptions were made. I just picked a few. And one of the assumptions is that Ketsa is a going concern. And I believe this is a language that now we have appreciated, that nothing has come to the attention of the board, that we are winding up. And that must be a commitment that Ketsa shall outlive us. I'm very happy. Today we do not have the former vice chair for Ketsa, but Ketsa continues. And that is the meaning of a going concern. He must be very happy that one of the legacies that he will be remembered for is being the founder members of Ketsa and leaving it when it is still strong. And I believe that is the dream for every other person who will come. I'm sure he's not the only person who has left Ketsa when it is still going. And this is an institution to be bequeathed to the future leaders of the cooperative movement. A going concern institution. Therefore, you must be alive to the threats that can affect what we call the existential threat, so that this institution remains truly to be a going concern. Number two is that the working relationship between Ketsa and its stakeholders will continue. And this is critical because you know threat can come from within, threat can come from without. Every day you keep on looking at how the stakeholders are sitting and what is it that they are thinking. We normally say that stakeholders can become partners, stakeholders can also become stakeholders. When they become stakeholders, when they become partners, they work with you, they hold your hand. When they become stakeholders, what do they do? Wanachukua nini? Kiboko, wanagonga. I remember a very interesting story that was told, and this is what they say, by the way, a little bit different. that the third president was a very calm person. So, one Professor Mutahi used to say that he used to carry a cuckoo, but he would cover it with velvet. So when you look at him, what he's carrying is a velvet. Anakugonga. Wewe ukiangalia ni nani anakugonga, you cannot suspect him, because if he has a velvet, then you know a velvet cannot hit you. So you keep on looking at your surrounding and see your stakeholders. And I know we did a very good mapping of stakeholders. And this is something that you could also do in your primary societies. And they are the matrix for stakeholders management, which we say identify stakeholders with high influence and high interest, identify stakeholders with high influence, no interest, identify stakeholders with no influence, high interest, and stakeholders who have no interest nor influence. But you must keep managing your stakeholders so that your challenges do not come from without. Number 3 is that there will be political stability in the country, and I believe we are still enjoying the narrative of that, and that there will be stable fiscal and monetary policies. And again, we could say we are still enjoying a narrative of that. You look at the shilling against the dollar, maybe the cost of living still a little bit high, inflation a little bit managed. So these are some of the assumptions together with the others that are not listed here. So I will finish with the coded Sacco for the Sacco. Then I'll allow us to break for tea, then when we come, we'll finish the discussion program. There's a gentleman called Simon Sinek. He has written very many books. And one of the books that he has written is called The Infinite Game. And in The Infinite Game, he says, run your organization like it will live forever. In other words, he says, the idea behind running this organization is not to become number one. It is not to beat your competitor. It is to create an institution that realizes its true potential, an institution that creates real impact on the people that it was intended. And he gives a very simple example of the American dream. If you trace the American dream, it is something that has been sung by all generations because it is an infinite game. So he says, he has written another good book now called The Leaders Start with the Why. Why do we exist is the entry point of everything that we do. And he says that the closer a leader is connected to the why, the more aligned their behaviors are. The farther the leader is from the why, the more disaligned their behaviors are. So the leaders keep on asking, why do we exist? And every other thing you do, the how and the what, is fed by the why. So again, I want you to ask your neighbor, what do you think would be the source of the why in any organization? Just engage your neighbor for a second. What do you think would be the source of the why in any organization, even not even Ketsa, even in your primary society? What would be the source of the why? What would be the source of the why? Leaders start with the why. What would be the source of the why in any organization? In any organization. What would be the source of the why? Yesterday there was a media released by some function of OTL, and they called themselves the leader Wananchi. And this is what they said: we are fighting for the soul of the party. The soul of the party. They are possibly saying, we are fighting for why. The the ODM exist. So what is the source of the why in any organization? Nani amepata? The why. What is the source? Where do you trace the why in any organization? The why. The why. The why. The why. I see many faces. Yes, Eunice. Yes, very good. Very good. See your mafanikio. Where is the mic? Just take. Why? There are two hearts. So there is one there, but we start with Eunice for 2 reasons. One is because her heart was up first, but in Africa we also consider it this one. Okay, very good.
Yeah, the why comes when people are not satisfied. So dissatisfaction. So it's a negative kind of question.
Oh, okay. So the why appears to you to be from a dissatisfaction.
Yes.
So the why from a dissatisfaction point of view. Okay, very interesting. Very interesting way of looking at it. We still analyze that. You know, we are philosophical. So we keep on thinking, how could that be related to the why? Hey, very good.
Yes, it is the reason why it is the purpose of that organization, the purpose of the formation of the organization.
The purpose for which the organization exists. Allow me to go with this more than this for Eunice. The purpose for which the organization exists. That is the why. And so for Ketsa, the why is in the vision, the mission, and in the core values. This is the soul and the heart of the institution. So what is the vision? To be the leading association in Kenya, championing Sacco growth. Do you know from that alone, you can develop so many programs for as long as anything that you are doing contributes to Sacco growth. In fact, if we were to shorten this, we could say that Ketsa is a champion of Sacco growth. Very simply, a champion of Sacco growth. So what is the work of a champion? Is it to keep silent? Is it to remain seated when there is something that needs to be done? A champion must be on the track. And when there is need to be on the trenches, you should be there for the sake of the Sacco growth. So how will you measure the success of this institution? It is to the extent that SACCOs have grown. Second to it is the mission. And the mission is to innovatively promote unity and socio-economic growth, to Sacco fraternity through advocacy, resource mobilization, and investment for maximum shareholders return. We may not have fixed the values, but the motto is unity, our strength. That is the why for Ketsa. And by the way, this alone is what we call the conceptualization. If you are to draw the conceptual framework for the vision and the mission, you will see the very many programs that this institution can run. But retrospect is, how then do we know that this institution is living true to its purpose, to the why, the inner circle. So for the purpose now of catching up with our program, I want to propose that I post there. We take our first healthy break. Then when we come back, we'll be able now to go with the way the program is designed. Is that in order? Okay, but I can see my chairman want to interject. We are co-trainers, so my co-trainer with the mic is Kagebali.
Thank you, Brother. The answer that my CEO gave, we discussed it here. The why. Before Ketsa came in, the teacher-based SACCOs came like orphans. We were not united. We did not have an organization who could fight for the rights of the teachers, either in KRA, either in government. But with Ketsa now coming in, which is a teacher-based organization, at least our voice can be heard. Thank you.
Chairman, you put it very well. Now I have understood what your group was trying to say. That the why is in which problem are you trying to solve? What solutions are you providing to the market or even to the beneficiary? And indeed now, in that case, I agree that that is also part of the source of the why. But we normally say that the only justification for any organization to exist is because there is a real problem that it is trying to address. So the why can be informed by what problems do you want to solve. And therefore, as CEO Eunice agreed.
Thank you. Let's take our first health break.
So who is guiding us? Oh, sorry. I could have jumped the gun. I could have done the work of the MC.
My apologies.
Thank you, sir. Asante sana for taking us through that session.